This is absolutely huge news, and I'm proud to be the first one bringing it to you. The only time that you will see this video is once it's been officially announced, and I want to thank the team at YieldMax. I want to thank the team at Han ETF and the team at Tidal for trusting me to be the one to bring this information to you. The biggest problem with something like MSTY has been that UK and European investors, which is a huge market of fixed capital, trapped capital, it's been very difficult for investors to get access to these products or this particular product, MSTY. And of course, this isn't financial advice. It is an opportunity for you to learn what tools are out there to gain access to harvesting volatility to generate income. I'm sure you've seen many people, the post that I put up of a friend of mine, a new friend actually, who had $4 million sitting in Bitcoin cold storage, who extracted 400,000, 10% of that, and put it into MSTY, and first month his income went from $15,000 in his job to something like $45,000 with a combined MSTY and his job income, and just completely and utterly changed his life. We're months into it now, and his income has only continued to grow. He's decided to maintain that position, right? MSTY and his cold storage Bitcoin, right? 10% in MSTY and 90% in cold storage Bitcoin. And a lot of people from Europe have been asking me, how do I gain access to this? What can I do, etc., etc. Well, today, it has just been announced that MSTY is listing in Europe. You will be able to gain access to it in pounds, in dollars, in euros through any broker account listed or allowing you to hold any products that are listed in European markets. You'll be able to do it without selling a put and owning the US product. And a lot of the tax situation is going to be managed for you by a European ETF manager that has taken care of all the work that was needed for this product to be listed in Europe. Now, I want to introduce this product to you for those that European audience that was always worried about this. This is going to unlock millions and millions and millions of dollars of capital. To put it into perspective, in the US, I think something like $8 billion is in Tidal managed funds, and $1.8 billion of that is coming from Korea. Don't quote me on that, but that's from what I understand. I don't have access to their books or anything like that. So this is a huge market and a huge interest and a huge product and a huge moment for the European audience that has been sitting there going, what the hell can I do to turn a part of my portfolio into an income product? So following is a short conversation that I had with Hector, who basically is part of the team at one of the co-founders of Han ETF that is going to repackage this MSTY product available for European investors. Enjoy the product, enjoy the interview rather, and hopefully it is a product that is useful for you. So let's check it out. Enjoy this conversation. You will understand everything that you need to know about this particular product and how the mechanism works, and when you can start owning this product and getting access to the MSTY performance that we've seen. Let's go over to my conversation with Hector now. So Hector, tell us a little bit about Han ETF. What do you guys do?
Yeah, so Han stands for Hector and Nick. So we're Europe's first and leading white label ETF provider. So we work with third-party asset managers who want to enter the European markets. And Nick and I, we've co-owned 4 ETF businesses together. We were founders and owners of ETF Securities, where we were renowned for creating the world's first gold ETF. We did the first platinum palladium, did the first oil ETF. We also created a business called Boost, which was a short and leveraged ETF firm, which Nick and I co-owned. And then we got bought by WisdomTree, and we co-owned WisdomTree Europe. So Han's our 4th ETF business, 4th and last, I have to say. We're not doing any more. And we've done over something like 7% of every ETF on the planet in that time. We've done about 700 plus ETFs, So we're bringing that experience to bear and helping, well-known global asset managers like YieldMax come to market with, great innovative products for European investors. So that's our mission at the end of the day.
Tell us a little bit about the problem. Why do these ETFs need to be relisted in Europe?
It's a good question. It all comes down to regulation and probably a little bit protectionism. So you tend to find the two big ETF markets in the world are the US ETF market, which is about 10 plus trillion. And then you've got the European market, which is about 3 trillion, but they're both on the same growth rate. Europe's probably 2 to 3 years behind, but, pretty much on the same CAGR, 20, 30% per annum has been since day dot. But they both have their own regulatory structures and wrappers. So in the US, they call it the 40 Act, which is the ETF wrapper there. And we've got UCITS in Europe. And basically, long and short of it is there was a piece of legislation the European Union brought in called MiFID II. And that basically overnight stopped all US ETFs being accessed by European investors because they needed a whole raft of regulatory documents and protections and setups, which basically meant that you may as well just create a new ETF. So if you're a global, asset manager looking to access global investors, you tend to have both UCITS and 40 Act. UCITS actually is interesting because LATAM investors prefer it, Middle East prefer it, Asian investors prefer it. But pretty much if you have both of those wrappers, you pretty much can attack the globe from a distribution perspective.
Right. Well, I'm curious, actually, why do they prefer it?
Usually tax, and also there's a big fear in the world about US estate taxes and the reach of the IRS. And if you give the IRS, a W-8 Ben form or whatever, obviously you're telling them who you are, where you live, and what assets you own type scenario. So I think there's a little bit of fear, and UCITS doesn't do that. It's a bit more benign, and obviously some jurisdictions, 40 Act's better, and some jurisdictions UCITS better. So it's just, but it tends to be if you've got both, you can cover any investors, with your IP.
Right. Okay. And obviously, with the big announcement while we're talking is MSTY is coming to Europe finally, which is awesome news. There's huge demand for this product, especially amongst Bitcoiners that don't really understand the power of income and yield harvesting that this product allows. Why did you guys decide to do this with YieldMax?
Yeah, so we've known the YieldMax guys for a long time. I mean, you probably know they're partly backed by a firm called Tidal, who is sort of the US equivalent of Han. So we know Mike Venuto and those guys really well. We love what they do, and again, as I mentioned, US tends to be 2 to 3 years ahead of Europe, and I'd say Tidal are probably 2 to 3 years ahead of Han. So those products have been around in the US for quite a while. Particularly with the daily options trading. And that Europe's a massive structured products market. So there's a huge amount of products out there that work in the structured product space, but that sort of business is gravitating to the exchange. Largely because people don't want the risk against banks. They want the liquidity. Want the trading. And basically just been a clamour of European investors asking for it. I would say that since we launched YieldMax's first product, YMAG, which is covered call on the tech sector, I've had probably a handful of emails every day from Spanish, German, French, English, Polish, Slovenian, whatever, saying, when is MSTY coming? So really, it's for popular demand at the end of the day. So it's, and what's nice is that the IP's established, the brand's established. I think they've got just under $5 billion of assets over in the US, and we can port that over here pretty easily. And I think that, this is just the start of a big rollout for the YieldMax guys. And then, for every email we're getting, they're probably getting 10, right? From global investors. So it's really just down to demand, really.
Yeah. Okay. And so which European markets are you listing in, and in what currencies are these going to be available in?
Yeah, good question. That so the core markets originally are going to start with the London Stock Exchange, and they're going to be on US dollars and sterling. They're not hedged; it's just really just a trading currency, and then also Deutsche Börse on Xetra, so that'll be in euros on the Deutsche Börse. So what's the nice thing is you get sterling, dollars, euros, whichever one you want. Obviously, it's hedged at the time you trade, but you're exposed to the underlying currencies over that period of time. But you'll get that sort of choice from that perspective. And we'll also be passporting it for sale all across Europe as well. So, where investors want to access it, in places like Spain or the Nordics or whatever, we passport it for sale in most of the major European countries, which basically means that there'll be a KID and a PRIP, and it'll allow their broker to set that product up and give access to it on the LSE or Zetra, whatever. So it'll be pretty much available on all. I mean, over time, we like to go on to Borsa Italiana and a few of the other, second string exchanges, Euronext, Paris, and SIX. But we'll start with those markets first and see where we get on from there. But it'll be generally available. It'll be pretty much for anybody who wants to get it, whether it's Saxo or 212 or whatever, it'll all be available through those guys.
So European investors can just go on to Interactive Brokers, Schwab, whatever it is, and just type it in and it'll come up. Do you know this? Do you know the symbol yet?
Yeah, well, MSTY. So we managed to get that. Yeah. So, but what I would say is sometimes some of the brokers can be a little bit clunky setting up. So what I'd suggest people to do is send the broker an email asking for it if it's not there and not set up, and equally send us an email as well, and we can follow it up. I have a guy who covers that sector, and he'll be onto them, but it will take a few days, and they respond more to investors than they do to me, because I'm a product supplier. But between us, we'll get it everywhere very, very quickly.
And so in essence, the structure of the product is a wrapper, and the funds get moved over to MSTY or Yieldmax or Tidal, and they execute.
Yeah. So basically, what we're doing is we're going to be. It's a bit like an ADR structure. I don't know if you know that structure where basically, you'll create an ADR and it'll hold the underlying security. So essentially, we're going to be holding MSTY in the US. And the market makers, when they create and redeem the units, so if there's more demand than supply, they'll create more units. So they'll deliver US MSTY to our custody account. We'll issue more units, so it's fully open-ended. So it just reflects. And what's really cool about that is rather than building a brand new product, we get the underlying liquidity from MSTY in the US. So the spreads are super tight. It's a super liquid product, very robust, great managers, so you're going to get the pass-through return from the US product from that basis. So it's pretty revolutionary. There's not many people who've done that. So, we did it a little bit with, we've got leveraged Bitcoin and Ethereum, which we've listed in Sweden on the Swedish exchange, and we do that through the ProShares product. So we've pioneered it with that, but this is going to be the first covered call we've done on that basis. So it's going to be pretty exciting.
That's awesome. And obviously there's a withholding tax, unfortunately, for European investors. How does that get dealt with? Because obviously for me, being in Dubai, Interactive Brokers, Charles Schwab, basically before the dividend is paid out, the withholding tax is taken. So how does that work with payments from you guys?
Yeah, so it'll be pretty much the same as if you held it directly. So instead of you holding it directly, the vehicle will be responsible for the withholding tax. And obviously with covered call products, you've got a blend of returns, right? You've got the capital return, you've got the dividend return, and you've got the income from the options. So obviously the manager will give us the detail on that, and that will just be passed through as if you were holding it directly. So so it's no different than if you were buying, if you could get access to the from your seat in Dubai or the UK or wherever. So it just reflects the same story from that basis.
Awesome. So then obviously the holder is just responsible for their dividend income tax or whatever taxes they're left.
Correct. So their local taxes on the capital gain or the income comes out that's representative of their local taxes. Yeah, exactly. So that's the way to think about it.
That's awesome. And is there a delay? Because obviously, I get paid through Schwab, like the Friday the dividend gets paid out, I get it close of market, and it's in my account. But is there a delay on it?
Well, obviously they are two separate products. So we need the dividend to hit the account before we deliver it. So I suspect there'll be like a day or two delay, from that basis. But essentially, you won't be out the market because the value will be reflected in the security from that perspective, and the dividend will be accrued to be paid out. So you're never out the market from that basis. It just means that instead of you getting it on that day, you'll get it a day or so afterwards. So it's very, very straightforward. And the dividend will all be mapped out on the website, by the way. So people will be able to look at it. They'll be able to see all that detail, and they'll be able to get the estimate of what's going on from that basis.
And the dividend is paid out in the currency that they invest in, or paid out in dollars?
No, it'll be paid out in dollars, what we receive. Now, when it hits their brokerage account, I can't say what's going to happen there because some of them will convert it or whatever it is, but it'll be in the currency received. We try not to add any FX complexity to that story, really. So that's the idea.
I mean, it's such a wonderful innovation, right? Because basically what people are doing is they're buying your product and you're basically holding MSTY shares for them.
Correct.
And and doing all the management and paying them out the dividend in Europe, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so it's very simple from my perspective. Are there any potential risks besides the FX risk that investors might not be aware of?
Well, there shouldn't be, because we don't issue the new units until we receive the shares of the underlying. So there's never a counterparty risk from that perspective. So that's the great beauty of the product, is when the market maker delivers the securities to create more units, they have to hit the custody account before the new units are issued. So the risks are pretty much the same as they are, if you bought the US products. I mean, what I would say is you do get some extra benefits, right? Because you get the market hours that the European exchanges trade on. So 8 o'clock in the UK. So you're open very much earlier than the US markets from that perspective, and you should get a lot more liquidity than if, say, you were getting out of market liquidity on MSTY, through the US markets, where it's going to be a bit thinner and a bit less liquid. You're going to get world-class market makers like Flow Traders and Susquehanna and people like that, giving you the marketplace from that level. But obviously, as you know yourself, these are high conviction products, So one thing I would say that investors should really understand what they're buying before they buy it, and dig into the structure, both of the MSTY, the US, and our structure. And everybody's quite willing to, we're quite willing to answer any questions, info@hanetf.com if anybody wants to ask a question, but clearly, hopefully the product page on the website should answer most people's questions.
I think you guys are doing an amazing service, because, the MiFID protectionism has been a joke. I mean, sophisticated investors can get access to MSTY just by selling a put option, but you can't just go and buy the damn thing. It's a complete joke. You guys make it really, really simple, which is awesome. I guess the final,
just in defense of Europe, though, the US does exactly the same thing, though. So I mean, it's a quid pro quo. So they don't let UCITS, be bought in the US. But I agree with you. Look, I mean, it would be a lot simpler for people to have one product that they could access anywhere in the world. And obviously we're more liquid, we're more transparent, but, ultimately, countries are countries, as we see with the tariff disputes at the moment. That stuff's not going away anytime soon, is it? So
no, I guess not. I guess not. So we're recording this on Tuesday, the 10th. It's announcements being made on the 11th. So people will be seeing this video on the 11th. When do these products start trading?
Well, I mean, all things being equal, and fingers crossed, should be on the 12th. Should be on the Thursday. So that's the plan.
And people should go to hanetf.com.
So not long.
People should go to hanetf.com and they'll see when.
Correct. They'll get all the information, and there's a really nice how to invest page as well, that will take them to the brokers that set up the pages there, or will describe how you're best to trade ETFs for limit orders or market orders or whatever. There's a lot of information there. If people are trading for the first time and or all those markets for the first time, very happy to help people. Education is a big thing in our world, so very happy to do that.
Awesome. Final question: how have you seen the interest in Bitcoin and Bitcoin related, products expand in Europe? What's your perspective on that?
Yeah, I don't know if you know, but we work with one of our other clients is a company called Bitwise. Who I'm sure you know. Yeah, we help distribute BTCE and ZETH and all that in Europe. So again, if you look at our website, we've got about 7 or 8 different coins. I think we've got over 1.4 billion in Bitcoin and BTCE. A couple of $100 million in Ethereum. We've actually, funny enough, just done Europe's first leveraged crypto as well in Sweden. We've got 2 times leveraged long and short Bitcoin and 2 times leveraged Ethereum. That's the first time that's been available in Europe. So we're big proponents of that. We're also big proponents on gold. We've got a fantastic gold ETF with a raw mint, where it's the only one in the world you can get physical delivery for coins and bars if you want that. And it's held in the vault of the raw mint, which is Britain's oldest company, set up by Alfred the Great in 889. Isaac Newton was a CEO there for 27 years. Believe it or not, Isaac had a day job. He wasn't actually a scientist. He actually had a job, and. Wow. And we've got one of the biggest defense ETFs in the world as well. So we've got a future of defense, which is NATO, which is $2.5 billion. Ticker's NATO, which is pretty cool as well. So we tend to do more of the sort of innovative type products across the board. So yeah, we're pretty excited by this though.
That's awesome. You got to. I think I was talking to Michael, and he was flabbergasted at the amount of investment that's going into MSTY, and hopefully you guys see the same success. I think this is a great service for European investors and also investors in other markets as well. This is
Exactly.
awesome. Thank you very much for doing this. Any final message for investors that might be considering allocating something when this trades?
Yeah, I mean, look at MSTY, look at YMAG, and we've probably got about another 5 or 6 coming fairly soon as well in the covered call space. So very happy to, really promote this space. And I think, as you say, income's king, right? So we want to make sure that people have choice out there. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks for your time. Yeah.
So as you can see, this is a great moment for investors who want to start having an income generating part of their portfolio in Europe. It will be available. Follow everything that Hector said in our conversation. Get in touch with your broker. Look at the Han ETF website, and you'll see when these products will start trading. If you're seeing this video, it means that just minutes before this video went out, we were on a Twitter Spaces and the announcement came out. And I just want to say again, a big thank you to the YieldMax team, the Title team, and the Han ETF team for trusting me to bring this information to you and hopefully be the first one to bring this information to you after the official announcement. Remember, income is a very important part of a portfolio, so study these products. Doesn't mean you have to use them, but study these products so you can understand exactly how they work and understand the full arsenal of tools that are available to you in this journey of hodling as much Bitcoin as possible, because that's the goal. Why? Because ultimately, there's always only 3 rules to Bitcoin. Step number 1, you buy Bitcoin. Step number 2, shut the fuck up. And step number 3, you get fabulously wealthy.